What's up, guys? I'm going to give you the top 10, number 1 through 10. Obviously, number 1 being the best, in my opinion, of the 10 available rookie premier players that you can acquire. If you're unfamiliar with the rookie premier program, go look it up. This video is not here to explain what this program is. I assume if you're on this video, you know what this is. You can leave in the comments if you'd like me to make a video explaining exactly what this is. But let's get started here. Number 1, as you see on your screen, running back Saquon Barkley. This guy is a beast. He's the real deal. He's not going to be a bust. I can guarantee you that. He was the second pick, the second guy off the board in the NFL draft. That's massive. He played for Penn State. He's 6 foot tall at 233 pounds. So he's a big boy. He's a lean guy, but he's big. You know, I mean, he's not 6'5", 233 or 6'2", 233. He's 6 foot, 233 with a 31-inch reach. So he's got a nice reach with 9.5-inch hands to catch those balls out of the backfield on checkdowns and other such routes. He ran a 4.4 40-yard dash. So he ran an exact prototypical perfect 4.4, as you would say, in the 40-yard dash. Obviously better than 4.4 is ideal, but that's very rare to see. And as I already stated, he's a running back / halfback. And I'm also going to give you the pro grades on these guys. And let me explain the pro grades really simply. Just 2 things about them. If the pro grade on the player is higher than 7, that means they are automatically assumed to be a Pro Bowl caliber player in the rookie season going forward. Automatically Pro Bowl caliber player if it's 7 or higher. If their grade is essentially 6.2, 6.3, somewhere in that range, they're considered 99% likely to start for their team. Okay, so if a guy gets a 5.8 or something, he's not a bad player, but he may have to sit back and wait and really earn his spot. So you may ask, what is Saquon Barkley's grade? 7.45, one of the highest grades, if not the highest grade in this entire 10-man pick here. So obviously, I highly recommend him, and I do have favorites in this list, which I will point out. But I'm trying to be fair here, and I have to put Barkley in at number 1. Now, number 2 is going to be none other than Roquan Smith, linebacker. We saw this guy in the national championship game. So you should be familiar with this guy because most everybody watched the national championship game. And if you're a college football fan, you're going to watch the playoffs and national championship game. So you probably saw him playing up against Oklahoma and obviously Alabama. You saw him giving Baker Mayfield fits and giving Jalen Hurts fits and even Tua Tagovailoa fits to some degree. But again, he's a linebacker, played for Georgia. He was the 8th guy off the board, the 8th pick in the NFL draft. He's 6'1" at 236 pounds. So again, he's a thick, big guy. He's not 6'3", 236, 6'1", so he's solid muscle. You see him on the screen right there. He's big. He's got a 32-inch reach with 10-inch hands. He's got monster hands. At 6 foot 1 inch tall, you're not really supposed to have hands that are 10 inches. Okay, and just to give you an idea, if you're curious about this hand size thing, take to measure them. You measure from the tip of your thumb to the tip of your pinky, okay? And that gives you your quote hand size here, and you'll see how big 10-inch hands are, especially for a guy that's almost average height, a couple inches taller than average here. He ran a 4.51 40-yard dash, so essentially a 4.5 40-yard dash at again 6'1", 236 pounds. So essentially a 240-pound guy runs a 4.5 40. It's a bit like Derrick Henry, except for Derrick Henry was 6'4", but that was drafted 2 ago. So his pro grade, he comes out at a 6.74. So he's definitely going to start, and he's not too far off from being a Pro Bowl caliber player. I'm really high on Roquan Smith, so I would put him as potentially a Pro Bowl player, especially after a couple of years in the league. Okay, number 3. Now, this is a favorite of mine. Calvin Ridley. All right, wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. He was the 26th pick. He went much lower than people really anticipated. And I'll explain why in just a minute after I give you his measurables and his stats here. He played for none other than Nick Saban's Alabama. So he was coached up under Nick Saban in basically the best staff in college football. He is 6'1" at essentially 190 pounds. So pretty much prototypical wide receiver size here. He has a 32-inch reach with 9 1/8 inch hands. So solid hands at 6'1". You really don't want hands under 9 inches, especially being a wide receiver. And he ran a 4.4340. He's been clocked faster than that at Alabama, but it's not, the combine, you get 2 shots, and that's your 40-yard time for life, basically. And his pro grade, just to give you all the information, was a 6.40. They graded him well. A 6.4 is excellent. Don't mistake. Just because Saquon Barkley got a 7.45, it doesn't mean Calvin Ridley's 6.4 is bad. It's just what they're projecting. Saquon Barkley had just insane stats, and that's where we're heading right now with Calvin Ridley. His stats over the last couple of years. Calvin Ridley had great stats. He still got picked in the first round for a reason. Okay. He's essentially the best receiver on the board, but his stats were nowhere near what they should have been, what they could have been, and you could even see him. And this is rare to see a Nick Saban player do this, but you can see him get visibly frustrated over the last 2 seasons with Jalen Hurts, especially this past season because it was Jalen Hurts' second season and he was beginning, he should have been better as a passer. But Jalen Hurts was and is an inconsistent passer. He's Alabama's quarterback, and therefore he would underthrow, overthrow, just fail to get the ball to Calvin Ridley when Calvin Ridley would consistently get open over and over and over and over. Despite those problems, despite that issue with the quarterback, Calvin Ridley still had the number 1 amount of receptions on the team, the number 1 amount of yards, etc., 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 by a long, long, long way. Okay, so this is a definite good skill position pick. He will get better throughout the year. It's not going to be a dead card next year. Okay, pick number 4, defensive end Bradley Chub. Let's see. Here he is, defensive end Bradley Chub. He was the 5th pick off the board in the NFL draft. Played for NC State. This is a big boy at 6 foot 4 inches tall, 270 pounds. He's got a 34-inch reach with 10-inch hands. 10-inch hands again. We had Roquan Smith at 6'1" with 10-inch hands. We got this guy at 6'4". That makes a little more sense when you're 6'4" with 10-inch hands. That's still great for defensive end. This guy at 270 pounds ran a 4.65 40-yard dash. That is nuts athletic. Just nuts athletic to be that big and that tall and run that fast. So, with that kind of speed and that kind of size, he's going to be a massive edge rusher. He's going to give just insane benefit to the Denver Broncos now. On their defensive ball, he's gonna give quarterbacks nightmare, and he's also good when he backs off and plays in zone coverage and man coverage. Whatever they put him in, whatever package he's the play called dictates. He's a very instinctive player, as are most of all these guys. 10 guys are put up for a reason. They're pretty much the best of the best. And let's just continue. I'll talk more about this stuff at the very end. Let's see. Pick number 5, Quenton Nelson. Big boy, as you can see on the screen here. He was the 6th guy off the board. 6th overall pick from Notre Dame. He's 6'5". I think he's the biggest guy out of these picks. 6'5", 325 pounds. 325 pounds at 6'5". That's a huge man. He's got 34-inch reach with 10 3/8 inch hands. So his hands are almost 11 inches tall, or large. So essentially 10.5 inch hands and he's a guard. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he's on the offensive line. He's a guard. They may put him in at right guard or left guard. Right here it says left guard, so I assume he's projected to go left guard. His pro grade here is 7.34. And if I didn't mention Bradley Chubb's pro grade, it was a 7.32. But Quenton Nelson, guard, 7.34 pro grade means, once again, he's projected to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Okay, so let's just keep on moving here and go all the way down to number 6, Derwin James. He was the 17th pick off the board. He played for Florida State, so a solid school to play for. Some good opponents in the ACC, playing teams like Clemson. And he's 6 foot 2 inches tall at 215 pounds. So he's a solid guy, solid height and weight, really a prototypical height and weight. He's a safety. Didn't mention that yet, but it says it right there on the board. He's projected to go strong safety. Okay, and he's got a 33-inch reach with 9.5-inch hands. Okay, and I mentioned the reach in the hands. I picked these stats in particular because these are important for all of these positions. How the radius for your catch radius, or in his case, he's going to be back there swatting balls and intercepting balls, etc., and making tackles. That how long your reach is and how big your hands are directly impact your catch radius, how good your hands are, because the bigger your hands, the more likely you are to catch it, because it's just easier to catch a ball. It's kind of like when you're playing football in the backyard or with friends or whatever, and you play with a small Nerf ball. It's easier to throw and catch and do stuff with because the ball's smaller. That's like mimicking you having huge hands, okay? Anyways, Derwin James ran a 4.4740, so he's an absolute burner, and his pro grade comes out at 6.44. So definitely going to start here. They're not indicating him being a Pro Bowler, but I go watch Derwin James highlights. I think he's going to definitely end up in the Pro Bowl. Maybe not in year one. Maybe that's what these grades are standing for, just year one. But 6.44, solid stat up there. He's definitely not the lowest one. Next guy up, number 7. Number 7 is the guy right here, Denzel Ward. A little bit smaller guy, smallest guy in this list. So a smaller guy who gets in and gets in the first round, especially where this guy is, has got skills. Maybe he should have been a little higher, but this is just where I wanted the guys based on all these stats and really based on what I saw their play. So he's a cornerback, okay? Denzel Ward. He was the 4th overall pick. I mean, you got to understand how significant that is. 4th pick, it means basically every team wants you. I mean, it's insane. But yet, he played for Ohio State, great school. It's in a good conference. But he's 5'11". He's essentially my height. I'm 5'11", 6 foot right there, and 183 pounds. So he's a 5'11", really lean 5'11". You can see on the picture. I mean, look at the shoulder striations here. I mean, look how lean this guy is. So he's got I would say definitely less than 10% body fat here. He's got a 31-inch reach with 8 3/4 inch hands. So almost 9-inch hands, but not quite. He's not a wide receiver, though. He's a cornerback, so that makes that sort of okay. Plus, he's got a lot of film on him, and that's really what beats most, any measurable. So that's closer. I think the average hand size is somewhere 7 point something, okay, just to give you some perspective. So he still has large hands for his height. Okay, and he's the fastest guy in this entire draft, or of these 10. He ran a just absolute jet blazing 4.340. 4.340. That is nuts. A cornerback running that speed. I mean, cornerbacks need to be exceptionally fast, 'cause if they miss their man does a juke, a move, they beat him on the press, whatever's going on, they need to be able to catch back up with their guy And so 4.340, I mean, he's going to be put on a slot receiver. He's going to be put on, essentially, he's going to be put on the fastest receiver out there most games for obvious reasons. And his overall draft pro grade was 6.31. One of the lower ones, not quite the lowest one, but he's still projected. It's still high enough. It's still a great grade. Still projected to start. Okay, now we're getting down towards the end of the list here. Number 8, Leighton Vander Esch. Okay, so Leighton Vander Esch is this guy right here, white boy here. Okay, and he was the 19th pick off the board. So every one of these guys is a first-round pick. He came from Boise State, played for Boise State. He's 6 foot 4 inches tall. You can kind of tell he's a tall guy in this picture. He's 256 pounds. He's got a 34-inch reach. So he's a lanky guy, but he's kind of filled out. But even at 256, you can kind of see he's far from being fat. I mean, he's not even close to having a belly or anything like that. But 34-inch reach with 9 3/4-inch hands. So almost 10-inch hands there. Oh yeah, you might want to know what he is. It's right there on the screen, right outside linebacker. He was projected to be an interior linebacker, so that's sort of interesting. But nonetheless, he had a 4.65 40-yard dash. So again, let's go back at his height and weight and compare that to his 40. 6'4", basically 260 pounds. And runs a 4.65 40. So that's an incredibly athletic, and he's white. I'm not racist, but it's just, I mean, come on, guys. It's rare to see white guys out there, unless they're on the O-line or, in certain positions. So good for you, Leighton. His pro grade, 6.25. I just have to point out that I believe, yeah, that's the lowest one on the board. Unfortunately, but it still projects him like right on the edge to start. Okay, so I expect him to start. Dallas Cowboys need this guy in this position. They pick this guy out of a situation of need, as many teams do with their guys. No, I'm sorry, he's not there. There's one guy that's lower. It's the next guy, and let's just get right to him. Number 9 is Hayden Hurst. Tight end. Okay, he was the 25th pick off the board, and his pick, in my opinion, that was the right pick. I almost wanted to put this guy in early second round in my mock draft, if you will. He played for South Carolina, but the reason he went up so high is because of obviously what he did, but more his prototypical size, like his just insane size and speed for that position. He's 6 foot 5 inches tall. He's 6.5. So he's equal or taller. Yeah, he's equal to Quenton Nelson. So he's 6.5 inches tall, and he's 250 pounds. He's got a 33-inch reach and basically 10-inch hands. And so that's tight end. That's like, it's not quite Gronk. It's close, but that's what you want in a tight end. So how fast is this 6 foot 5 inch, 250 pound dude? Well, he ran the 40 in 4.67. Okay, while that's slower than a 4.4 or a 4.3x burner out there. He's 6'5", 250. So there's a reason for it. It's tight end. That's a very solid 40 for a tight end. He projects on his his pro grade, pro draft, whatever you want to call it. His pro grade was 5.90. I do believe he's still projected to start. I don't think they would put a guy in this list that wasn't, because of the way the rookie premier system works. Nonetheless, number 9, tight end, Hayden Hurst. And then, lastly, as you guys can probably figure out from the process of deduction, is, in my opinion, quarterback Sam Darnold. Okay, so let's go up and put his mug on the screen here. He came off the board third pick, and I put him last. Why? Okay, I'm not going to go in huge depth here, but I'll give you his stats here, or his measurables. He played for USC. Okay, so he played out in Pac-12. and that's part of the reason that I put him down at 10. He's 6'3" tall, 221 pounds. So that's prototypical NFL quarterback size, height, weight type deal. They really like that. Okay, it just is. That's why it's part of the reason he went so high. Okay, he's got a 31-inch reach with 9 3/8 hands. So basically 9.5-inch hands, which is very important for a quarterback. The bigger your hands, generally the better you can spin that ball. As a QB, he ran a 4.85 40 as a quarterback. I don't care what your height is and all that. You run a 4.85. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Tom Brady ran like a 5, I think, maybe even a 5.9 or something. It was something ridiculously slow. This guy runs a 4.85, so he's not going to be some dual threat guy running out of the pocket constantly and all that. But he's got enough speed there where he can do something. I would have liked to see him have more of a 4.6 something type of speed. 4.85 just really doesn't cut it for me. But if you got the arm, you got the arm. And they gave him a pro grade of 7.00. So they project him to be a potential Pro Bowl caliber player. I don't see it. I don't see it in this guy. I mean, last year, I looked on one site stats, and they could have been wrong, but it said he threw for 26 touchdowns, had 13 interceptions. So he was only a 2-to-1 ratio on his TDs to his INTs, and his completion percentage was 63%. That seems low to me. It just doesn't. Those numbers don't match up with being the third pick off the board. So maybe that site was off. But I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch Sam Darnold all year like I did the ACC and the SEC in certain conferences. The Pac-12, I just don't watch that much unless they get into the postseason or they're playing, Alabama or a team that I really follow closely. But I've seen enough of Sam Darnold. I've watched his pro day. I've seen games of his highlight footage, etc. He just doesn't do it for me. He just doesn't. I think he was picked too high. And the big thing is when you're doing this rookie premier program, quarterbacks are kind of a coin flip. I mean, you can pick one and they may take off, and you're gonna have a card that goes up, and it was a great deal to do. But more often than not, a first-year quarterback's just not gonna do it. Like last year, if you would have picked Watson, you had a dude that was taken off. You know what I mean? But how often does that happen? And plus, it's obvious Sam Darnold's not going to change his 40 time from 4.85 to a 4.4. That's what it is. It's just going to get slower from here on out, So I think you get the idea with Sam Darnold. And that covers it from 1 through 10. I'll go back over the list. It was Saquon Barkley was number 1. Roquan Smith was number 2. Calvin Ridley was number 3. Bradley Chub was number 4. Quenton Nelson was number 5. Derwin James was number 6. Number 7 was Denzel Ward. Number 8 was Leighton Vander Esch. Number 9 was Hayden Hurst. Where is he at? There he is. And then, of course, as we just talked about, Sam Darnold was number 10 on the board, and that's all of them. So, personally, I'm probably going to go with this. I'm going to think about what positions that are easy to get in Madden, basically. What cards do they generally give you? What cards are generally, there are a ton of them in the auction house that you can find a high overall of that position for fairly cheap. And then what cards are more rare and tougher to get. And that's kind of where I would say pick. It's really tempting to get Saquon Barkley, and I put him at number 1, so it's a smart pick. But you got to think, how many running back and halfback cards do you get? And are out there? There are a dime a dozen. So do you? It really, these run in about 1 million coins per card. So, do you really want to invest in something like this? I mean, if you love Saquon Barkley and all this, and you want a for sure card that's going to move up, even he could get hurt. You never know. Then he's probably your guy. But you got Roquan Smith. Now, this is more of a position that's not nearly as proficient, has as much, and that's the wrong word, not nearly as plentiful, I should say, because it's a defensive card, one, and two, it's an interior linebacker. He's a middle linebacker. Now that's a little more plentiful than maybe an outside linebacker, but still, it's a little tougher getting a really badass middle linebacker than it is getting a really badass halfback. You know what I mean? So maybe you want to push down to number 2 to Roquan Smith, because I guarantee you this dude is gonna show up in his first year. And then again, you're going to need skill positions and wide receivers. You're going to need, 2 or 3 of these guys to be good. One wide receiver just doesn't cut it on your team. So Calvin Ridley, I meant to be on Ridley there. Calvin Ridley is the man. I mean, you're going to really see what this guy can do being on the Atlanta Falcons with Matt Ryan throwing him the ball instead of some quarterback that is more of a runner than a passer at Alabama. And he's on the same team as another former Alabama player, Julio Jones, who demands double teams constantly, and if nothing else, demands the attention of the entire defense every time he goes out on a route. So Julio Jones is going to be pulling all this attention, and Calvin Ridley, the elite receiver that he is going to be an excellent target. I mean, Julio Jones is always going to be your primary, probably, or really close to it on most plays. But having Calvin Ridley there, I mean, he's just going to be kind of like the safety valve, I believe, for Matt Ryan. He's gonna see Jones out there covered up. He's gonna see Ridley, who was one of the best route runners in the game. You'll see this, and he's got, again, 4.4 speed, and he's gonna see Ridley opened up, because they're not paying him near the attention they should, and he's a rookie, and I fully expect a fantastic year. I kind of expected, he got a 6.4 grade. I kind of expect Calvin Ridley kind of break out of the mold here and potentially even go to the Pro Bowl in his first year. We'll see. He is, on the other hand, competing with the best receiver, in my opinion, in the game, Julio Jones, at the same time. So it works both ways, but I think they'll both get their fair share of balls. Now, I could keep going all the way through my entire list, but I think I've talked plenty here. So let me know your top 10, or maybe your top 1, your top 3, or just let me know which ones you actually purchased or traded in to get, whatever you want to call it. For the Madden 19 season, and you get to use the 99 version here in Madden 18 indefinitely. So there you go, guys. Let me know if that helps, and take care.